Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John, and this is episode 288. Each week, I sit down here and answer your questions. If you have questions, send them to us at the podcast with this email address, podcast@DanJohnUniversity.com. I do my best to answer, each and every one. And in the last couple of weeks, questions have kind of circled around the same topic a few times. Today is a little bit more wide open, so let's listen in. So our first question is from Andre, and Andre, very quick question. Regarding your 10,000 kettlebell swing challenge, what approach would you recommend doing the challenge with one-arm swings? Man, of course, when we did the 10,000 swing challenge, at my gym, we tend to do the two-handed kettlebell swing the most. Part of the reason is a lot of people, when they do one-handed swings, I feel they do a lot of rotation. Now, I know that's actually taught by some places, but I don't know. With my experience with watching people hurt their backs, very often it's rotation with speed, rotation with ballistics. And so doing something stupid, but those are the two big ones, really. So if you're going to do them single-handed, my first advice is make sure you have good technique. I always say keep your chin, sternum, and zipper line in a straight line. So if you find yourself starting to throw that chin away, or you find yourself turning that chin away, you find your sternum starting to go the other direction, I would say, okay, put the weight down. There's two obvious ways to do it. I like the first one better, and that would be, and it's going to end up being this, 20 days of left-handed swings, 20 days of right-handed swings. But on Monday, say, you do all 500 swings with your left hand. And one of the reasons I like that so much is one of the things you get out of the challenge is grip strength. Now, even with the 24 with two hands, weirdly, when you hold on to that for 500 swings, by the end of the first few days, you see changes in your grip strength. Ideally, it's positive, but you'll notice when you're doing things around the house with the 10,000 swing challenge that your grip is a little bit funny. I don't know hopefully it's getting better. I like the idea for grip strength of doing day one left, day two right. So, odd even it all the way through. The other really reasonable way to do it is to do a set left-handed, then a set right-handed. You're going to find some discrepancies between your two sides doing that way. My favorite set of numbers now for swings is 15s. Let's just say you're going to alternate the sets of 15. I think that's pretty reasonable. The one nice thing is do the math early with your numbers. I would like to see you get exactly 250 swings left, exactly 250 swings right. Most of the methods I preach and teach here are based on the two-handed swing. So you might not get, like if you decide to do the 10 left, 15 right, 25 left, 50 right, that's not going to work out for balance. So figure out good numbers. Obviously, if you can do good sets of 20 in the swing, boy, that would be not bad at all. You might even be able to run some of those sets back to back. So you're doing 40 hinges in one set, but 20 with the left hand, 20 with the right. I still like the first one best. One day left, one day right. That's just because I think it's easier to dial in technique on one side and just keep coming back to it and keeping it clean. Also, every time you reach to the ground, you're going to have the same hand hold. And you're also going to put a lot of pressure on the grip. I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback through the years on the one-handed swing. Most people do it with two hands. But I'd like you to let me know how it goes. And obviously, one thing I'm going to tell you, and I think you're going to figure this out soon, if you decide to do, like day one, 500 swings left, day two, 500 swings right, I wouldn't be surprised if you start to change things up and hybrid it and mix and match things as you go. To me, it's a really natural way for you to experiment with your kettlebell swing and the number of reps you're going to do. Fun question, Andre, except I don't know if I've been asked that here, at least on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I've heard it at certs, but on the podcast, I don't think so. So, hey, a new thing. Our next question is from Benedict. Benedict, great name. I hope your motto is work and pray. Little theology joke there. Okay. Very simply says this. How would you structure a one lift a day style program with a single kettlebell? Wow. I like the idea. I'm a big fan of one lift a day. It completely changed my lifting career in the 90s. Being able to come in and I was doing it as an Olympic lifter, and let's say, Tuesday's front squats. Well, you front squat, and someone's going to raise their hand. What else do you do? No, it's one lift a day. And of course, the joke when I first wrote the article would be, can I add bench presses to the front squats? Well, that would be 2 lifts a day, and that would be different. And I got to tell you, that's when I first realized that a lot of people can't follow very simple instructions. And it's stunning how many people can't follow simple instructions. You ought to see some of the comments I read about the armor building formula. Yeah, I think it'd be very good. I don't think I think leaping out at me right away, it'd be real natural to have a swing day and a snatch day. I would probably put the snatch day anytime you can get a day or two of rest after it. But I think the swing would be a great way to start that week off. So maybe swings on Monday, Tuesday, you just do, boy, I got to tell you, if you did nothing but Turkish get-ups, I don't know how long you can do it. I think my record is 10 minutes because I was doing it for Pat Flynn. And at the end of, I think, minute 9, I got to tell you, that next 60 seconds was the longest of my life. Not because it was hard, because I was just so bored. Now, that doesn't speak highly for me or my ability to stay focused. But so Monday swing, Tuesday Turkish get-up. I think Wednesday was born for the clean and press. Now, you can either do clean and press, clean and press, clean and press, clean and press, or clean, press, 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 press. Clearly, goblet squat would be a good exercise to toss in. Day 3, you can use it as a tonic. I like that exercise where you sit at the bottom of the goblet squat, you do curls, really stretches your hip out, and it really gives a peak to the bicep. For those of you just listening, I'm being a little sarcastic. And then the last day of the week, be a really hard snatch workout. I think you're going to find that outside of Wednesday's workout, the workouts are going to be fairly quick. Do I think it's enough? Well, it's not bad. You certainly are going to cover everything you need in the week. And if you really do push that snatch day, you'll be looking forward to a rest day. On the swings, you could do something. If you decide to go hard, you could do, the 10,000 swing challenge on the swings, but it would take you 20 weeks to do it. Just do 500 swings on Monday. On Tuesday, your Turkish get-ups, you could do them with no load, or you could do some with load, some no load. You could even walk up the ladder, the chain concept where you do the 4 kilo, the 8, the 12, the 16, the 20, the 24, the 28. That'd be kind of an interesting little thing to do, and then ratchet it back down the opposite way. With the goblet squats, make that, on the clean and press, I would take that as the longest day. I'd really go after it. I'd love to see your reps in the clean and press be up to, I like that one thing I do. I do a set of 2, a set of 3, a set of 5, a set of 10, and I just do that 5 times, and that tallies up to 100 presses. And if you did that on Wednesdays, 100 left and 100 right. And this would be the clean and press, 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 press style. That would be a good day. The next day, that goblet squat's going to feel kind of nice. And whatever day you pick, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is, to do the snatch workout. I got to tell you, when people do long snatch workouts, it's always illuminating. We do this one in preparation for the RKC where we go 20 left, 20 right, 20 left, 20 right, 15 left, 15 right, 15 left, 15 right, 10 left, 10 right, 10 left, 10 right, 5 left, usually on the 5s I'll go a little bit up, 5 left, 5 right, 5 left, 5 right, which tallies up to 200 snatches. Yeah, when I say it out loud, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a lot of volume, and especially if you go heavy on those last sets of 5, it's illuminating technically. That's what I would say, and I think it's a really good idea. Obviously, if you decide that your bells are too light, you could probably do a mix and match of things too. This is just a follow-up point, but maybe Monday you swing left, Wednesday you swing right, Tuesday clean and press left or right, whatever. Thursday clean and press left or right. Friday be the goblet squat day, and Saturday be the snatch day. That might be a fun way to work things out. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I think the focus of it is what we used to do with kettlebells back in the aughts. Back in 2004, 2003, a lot of people were doing single kettlebell exercise days, and then they did what they called variety, and that was they do things like juggling and all the little trick exercises in the quiver. I always thought that I always liked the idea because it sounded fun to me. For those of you who've never kettlebell juggled, make sure you do it on a field that you don't have to worry about having kids run on it later because it leaves a bunch of holes. But there's something fun about doing the round the worlds, the figure eights, those flips, the 360s, the helicopters. They're all fun. I really haven't done very much of it in a long time, but it's fun, and it is an amazing grip exercise. Well, thank you, Benedict, and I hope that worked out well for you. Our next question is from Christian, and he said, can you possibly address the advantages of a traditional kettlebell shape versus some of the current ones that are coming out? There's a new one that's shaped like a triangle. I have used others, but I find them reducing the challenges that are inherent in kettlebells like grip strength, shoulder integrity, and core stability. Seems like everything else, someone has simply made things easier for those who can't embrace the challenge. That's kind of mean, but it's true, isn't it, Christian? I like the classic Dragon Door kettlebell. It's my favorite. It's the first one I got. And you have to be careful about my opinion on this one, Christian, and anybody listening, is that you're always going to be most comfortable with the way things you did in the beginning. When you go to other cultures, other countries, and they eat at different times and different foods, that is unsettling, or even, I don't know, even sleeping habits, or the way, like in England, they try to kill me because they all drive on the wrong side of the road. I got to tell you, when you first go to England, you take your life in your hands when you cross the street, because I am just so ingrained to doing this versus this. My point about traffic and all this is that I like the bells I like because that's what I learned and that's what I'm most comfortable with. I've never been a fan of the competition bells because they're made out of steel and they bounce together on the double stuff and it makes a noise. And it's real hard to do some things like goblet squats and just some of the exercises we do at the RKC weekends. The bells don't fit well. And oddly, I also don't like the fact that they're all the same size. Now, that is the advantage of competition kettlebells. But, Christian, to get back to my point, I like to be able to look at the floor and say, oh yeah, that bell's light and that bell's heavy. I don't like to use the colors. And really, in this day and age, pink is the lightest one. Come on, let's move on. For me, I like the classic, the standard bell. And of course, I also like to do things the way I always did it. I'm one of those people that if they change one tiny thing at church, I fold my arms and I make a big deal out of it. If you change the entrance to a building I go in all the time, it takes me way too long. And I like to sit on my front lawn and yell at kids. I'm just an old grump. No, I agree with you very much. The kettlebells I got first, and that would include my 28. I still think those bells from the just after the millennium, the original Dragon Door black bells, man, those are good bells. I'll find out if there's been changes. But one other thing about buying the kettlebells I buy, let's see, I have owned about 140 kettlebells. So at the school I taught at, I had 107. And here in my home, I have 36. And then my daughters have liberated several kettlebells each from me, which breaks my heart a little bit. But it's funny when I see my daughter, when I talk to her on FaceTime, and I'll see in the back, I see my kettlebells sprinkled around her where she's been working out. Makes me happy. But I've only had one break, and it was because a kid was being an idiot. And I would go to I also watched him break a hurdle one time, and I'm pretty convinced that this kid he had a bit of a streak in him. You know, I won't make many more comments. But yeah, the original kettlebells, you had to go out of your way to break. I'll add one more kettlebell that most people probably don't even remember, but Gill Athletics, when kettlebells came out, they made kettlebells. And universally, the kettlebell community didn't like them because the handles were like thick barbell handles. They were really thick. I'm sure they said, oh, here's a kettlebell, let's make something. And somebody just said, okay, good. But I like those really thick-handled kettlebells for all the reasons you're talking about here. If you're doing snatches with those thick-handled ones, I always felt that my shoulders were safer because each and every rep you had to be on task. And I also felt when you had those loads over your head that it really did challenge me more with the thick handle, because you couldn't really, you had to make sure you had a good solid grip, get that thing in the corner there and hang on for dear life. So Christian, to summarize which kettlebell is best, my kettlebells, the one I have in my gym, are the best. And if you can get those classics, I think those are the best way to go. Thank you. We have a question from Jax. Last summer, I had a difficult time balancing strength training with mountain biking and climbing, two things I'm very passionate about. This fall, I've been focused on strength work and heading into ski season next month. I know I'm going to struggle balancing my downhill and cross-country skiing with time in the gym. What do you think about focusing on strength and hypertrophy work during the fall and spring and just focusing on my sports during the winter and summer? Is there any major drawback to this approach? Yeah, to me, this is like crystal clear to me. I'm lucky because I came from the tradition of playing 4 sports a year. So as a kid, it was football in the fall, American football. I wrestled in the winter, track and field, threw discus, did the hurdles, and occasionally took a relay baton. And in the summer, I played church basketball and soccer, or football to the rest of the world. And I always thought that was a great approach because I found that the 4 complemented each other. If you really want to get in great shape, wrestle. You'll be in great shape. And don't tell me about some silly endurance workout you did. Go to wrestling practice. The first 10 minutes of wrestling practice are harder than anything I ever did in American football or track and field or 10K runs or whatever. It's tough. In your case, and I think anybody else listening should lean in right now, because I'm a big believer in the seasonal approach. I think my second published article was on it. Generally, I think in the fall, we should have very disciplined programs because, it's American football, it's go back to school time. Winter, go heavy, go hard, go home. Spring, start adding a little bit of, outdoor movement. Summer, play. Get out, play Frisbee on the beach, play pickup games, play baseball or whatever the game get outside and have fun. And as, August starts to, the days start to shrink, get yourself in, start looking at a program you want to do for the fall, some hard discipline program, and just repeat. So if you're doing something like what you said, I don't know why you'd want to lift weights while you're mountain biking and climbing anyway, because I think, especially if you do any hypertrophy work, bodybuilding, body composition work, increasing lean body mass, I don't think that's going to help you as a climber. In fact, I think it'd be the opposite. And you really do want to keep your legs fresh for cross-country skiing and skiing. So, a heavy squat workout the day before you hit the mountains, I just don't think is a good idea. But I love the idea of you having these this seasonal approach. It might be really a good idea for you to have more of a strength emphasis. Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking this out loud, but maybe a strength emphasis in the fall and more body composition emphasis in the spring for your weightlifting. But I mean, whatever you do is going to work out great, because not many people mountain bike, climb, downhill ski, cross country ski, and lift weights. So you're in rare air here, Jack. So whatever you do, I'm going to give it the ultimate blessing of pretty good. And that's a fun question, and thank you. We got a question from Jose. I have read your books, Easy Strength and the Omni book, and I think they're excellent and a great source of knowledge. Well, thank you. Not only in relation to strength training, but also in relation to how to approach life in general. Yeah. You know, the funny thing about the Easy Strength Omni book is that the lessons you pick up in Easy Strength are lessons that work well in real life. I was up at Utah State just a couple of weeks ago. They were dedicating a new throwing cage. And I was talking to somebody about Coach Mon, and I said, you know, he told us in our first meeting, make yourself a slave to good habits. And then he said, little and often over the long haul. And if you read my work, you know, I quote both of those constantly. But honestly, the lessons you learn in Easy Strength for fat loss, or Easy Strength, any of them, is that little and often over the long haul is far better than 99% of the nonsense I see daily online. And of course, make yourself a slave to good habits. We were just having with our financial group meeting yesterday. You know, I'm always amazed, you know, don't smoke. I mean, don't get in the habit of smoking. It's a financial nightmare. And it's also, outside of the health benefits, lack of health benefits, on the financial, that's a very expensive habit. You know, we're just talking about the importance of one of the members is younger, and has bumpers of, he wants to stay between 155 and 170. And I said, that might be the smartest thing. He's 19 or 20. That might have been the smartest thing I've heard in our group ever, because if he maintains 155 to 170 up to my age at 68, and in fact, he also invested in his retirement already, he's going to be extremely happy. Statistically, of course, you know, things can happen, but he's going to be very, very happy. So thank you. I appreciate that. Let's get back to the questions. I am very attracted to the training method because it is doable and maintainable over time. I love that. I understand the method, but I have two questions. I currently train 2 days a week with weighted ring push-ups and block deadlifts, and 2 days a week with weighted pull-ups and weighted one-leg shrimp squats assisted, holding onto the rack. I usually change rep ranges and number of sets every 5 or 6 weeks. I see it possible to fit pull-ups and deadlifts into the Easy Strength program, but I have doubts about whether this approach would work with weighted push-ups and shrimp squats, since calisthenics is usually about high rep ranges. What do you think? Well, the most interesting thing, and this is going to sound, I hope it's not controversial, but Jose, I don't agree with you about that. I have a book up here on my shelves, and whenever I look back, it's right there. Right there. It's called The Naked Warrior, and it's a very popular book by Pavel, probably about 20 years ago. And he has a training program where basically you do one arm, one leg push-ups and pistols. Something similar to the shrimp squat, similar. And one of the things he really emphasizes is, it's Easy Strength protocols. I think what happens sometimes when people look at calisthenics, because they're used as punishment in some sports, crappy warm-ups in other sports, that we've missed the idea that the word, I think it means beautiful movement or beautiful strength in the original. And I think we get away from the fact that it's supposed to be beautiful. You know, instead of trying to do more and more reps with this, what is the weighted push-up? It's weighted push-ups. As a strength coach, it's pretty obvious how you make a weighted push-up harder. You add more weight, and you're very welcome. Be sure to tip the wait staff. And the veal is excellent this week. That's pretty obvious. But I think it would work well. And I kind of wish you would just kind of fold your arms and stare off in the sunset for a few seconds and think, Why are calisthenics always high rep? When I see people doing more than 4 burpees, I always think the inventor, a guy named Royal with an E, burpee, that's not what he meant. It's supposed to be an assessment. There's a whole bunch of great assessments that you can turn into an exercise program, but it's just more. I mean, who cares about how many burpees you can do? And oh, by the way, whenever I say that, something like that about burpees or any other exercise I don't really think of, somebody always writes in the comments, well, I bet you can't do 50 burpees. I'll do 50 burpees. Give me $10,000, I'll do it right now for you. But I'm not going to do 50 burpees just to impress, and honestly, who am I going to impress with that? Let me think that through. I've done some impressive things, and burpees. Yeah, anybody can do 50 burpees. Hats off to you. But I cleaned over 400 pounds. So do your 50 burpees and then walk over to the bar and clean 400. And tell me which one was harder. Oh, sorry. Listen to me ramble here. Like, I've turned into a very grumpy person today, and I apologize. I think it will work, but I would say you should slow down the movement. You should find sticking points and play with them. You should break those movements down a little bit on the shrimp squat. You might be blowing through, some angle or degree of that squat, and maybe by going really slow, you get exposed that that's a weakness for you. Then you play around with the weakness in an easy strength fashion. So yes, I do think you can, but really change the way you look at calisthenics, if you will. Number 2, I know that easy strength is not a hypertrophy program, but what can you expect in terms of hypertrophy if you run the program? And he adds right here, I'm 51 years old. I've been strength training since I was 44. And my goal is to find myself and look good and have enough strength and longevity. In the book, I had an easy strength hypertrophy program. Can you do easy strength for hypertrophy? Yes. In fact, I like research in the field. The problem is sometimes research, they don't have good participants. The research I use the most, of course, is I use The Physiology of Strength. So this is my go-to book in our field, The Physiology of Strength by Heidegger. And English edition, 1961. It's from I've mentioned it before. I don't want to beat it to death. You can really build hypertrophy with 2 sets of 5. I mean, you really can. Say like the most common, I did incline benches, and I did 2 sets of 5 when I did it the first time. Well, I did 2 sets of 5 days a week in the incline bench. Well, when you add that up, 5 times 2, that's 10 sets of 5. And that's a lot of volume on a big lift like the incline. When I was doing thick bar deadlifts, 2 sets of 5 in the thick bar deadlift is about as much as you can get away with. I've done thick bar curls in easy strength, and I got to tell you, that might have been that of all the exercises I've done, that'd be the one I kind of fold my arms and go, I don't know if I'd do that again, because doing that volume of thick bar curls really starts to, it really puts a lot of stress on the wrist and elbows. And I'm sure it's because of that freakish grip work you're doing constantly. But I do think you can build mass on 2 sets of 5. That is the tradition. That's what Harry Pascal and Ted Williams and all the, Miles back here, that great book. That's what they all recommend. Having said that, DeLorme discovered that the reps should be a little bit higher. So you could do, and this is just an idea for you, Jose, for easy strength hypertrophy, get yourself some time in doing just the standard 2 sets of 5. Of course, you're only lifting 2 days a week, 4 days a week. So you're doing 2 sets of 5, 4 days a week. I'd prefer 5, but don't worry. And you're slowly notching up that load. If you then slide over after about, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks after you get your loads to a good number, slide up to 2 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 8 and give that a run of about 2 to 3 weeks. So easy strength, 2 sets of 5 for to when you're going to start to top out. Now, for me, For me, it was like by about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I get most of the benefits of an easy strength program. So if you're a little Danny John, 3 to 4 weeks, I would then start bumping those numbers up. For some of you, you might say, well, no, it's week 7 I got on my gains, or week 8. That's when I'd like you to bump your numbers up. I would start off maybe the first week with 2 sets of 8, and it'd be great if you could stick with that heavier load, but maybe not. And then slide up to 3 sets of 8, stay on that for about 3 weeks, check back into like how you look in the mirror, how you look at a picture. I got to tell you, what are your measurements? This is a very expensive device I call a tape, and you wrap this around your different body parts, and you can see whether or not you're actually making progress. Hey, listen, I love the scale, the bathroom scale. I love to watch my weight come down when I'm on a fat loss program. But what really tells me about what's actually going on is the tape measure. And don't cheat with the tape measure. It's not going to help you. Good questions, Jose. I enjoyed answering them. And then if you do have Easy Strength Omnibook, double check that area on hypertrophy. And it's okay to let those numbers slide up, but make sure you go, as this is one of those old truisms of weightlifting. It's not low weight and high reps that makes you big, and it's not high weight and low reps that makes you big. It's high weight and high reps that makes you big. And it's one of those uncomfortable truths. That's why high rep back squats, and no one likes them. Someone's going to say, I like them. Okay, good for you. But the rest of us normal people, we don't like high rep back squats because they make you feel terrible while you do them. And then they make you feel terrible for 1, 2, 3, 4 days later. And then the program says you have to do it again. Math made simple. So enjoy. I hope that helped. And at your age, 51, I like the fact that you're starting to think about hypertrophy, because as you move through this next decade, hypertrophy for you has become more and more important. Thank you, Jose. Oh, we got a question from Niall. Oh, I know a Niall. I hope it's my friend in Belfast. My question relates to your Eagle kettlebell drill. I tried the Sparrowhawk drill with a 32K belt, good load for that, without difficulty recently as a challenge. Okay, so for those of you new to my work, the Sparrowhawk is 8 goblet squats, and then you do a suitcase carry with your left hand for, 20 meters. 7 goblet squats, other hand back, suitcase carry, and then you go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the goblet squats, and you carry the bell back and forth. You do not put the bell down. It really does challenge your core, as we say nowadays. It really does, because you've got the goblet squat as a moving plank, and you've got the suitcase carry as a moving plank, and the load never leaves your body. So he decided to do the Eagle as prescribed with double 24s. And to explain that, it's a very simple program. You take double 24 kilo bells, you do 8 double kettlebell front squats here, okay? Then you drop the bell down to your sides and you go 20 meters. You do another set of 8, you come back, farmer walk it back, 8, farmer walk it back, 8, 8. And it's a total of 64 goblet squats and a lot of walking, farmer walks, and you're not allowed to put the bell down to pass it. Fun test for just work capacity. And those double 24s, they're not heavy, but they just smoke you because you just don't get it. And I always tell people, you rest your grip when you front squat, and you rest your legs when you farmer walk. And that sounds funny until you're doing it. I only got to 4 sets of the required 8 before I had to put the kettlebells down. Sure. The farmer walk portion of the drill is reasonably easy. However, I seem to struggle with holding the kettlebells in the rack position during the bottom half of the squat. Okay. Yeah, because it slides down because you have to fight so hard. Those cobra muscles back there really get a workout in this one. If you ever want to spot weak rhomboids or whatever they're called, the lower traps and the inside lats, or whatever, if you ever want to test yours, doing the eagle, you'll find out all about those muscles in the middle part of your back. He repeated again and failed again after 4 sets. Do you have any suggestion on how best to work my way up to a successful eagle? I want to achieve this for both a personal challenge and to remedy my lack of anaconda strength when I'm in the lower portion of the squat. So, gentle listener, I think we all are hearing Niall, anaconda strength, word I use to talk about this, where you brace or pack your whole body. And I like to do it moving because I think that's much more realistic to what's happening out there. Obviously, it's so simple. Progressive resistance exercise. What I might suggest for you is that you do, I maybe bring out more bells if you can, or however you have the situation is. But certainly I'd like to see, can you do it with the 12s? Can you do double 12s and get the workout done? If it's double 12s, then our issue clearly is the rack position in the double kettlebell front squat, okay? If that's true, then we can actually just do barbell front squats to help that. We can do the armor building formula would be marvelous for that. But first off, just see if you can do it with the 12s. And as you're doing it, it's like I always tell people about our prep for the snatch test. Is it your lungs? Is it your buns? Is it your guns? And figure out which one is kind of holding you back. If you're grinding up with 12s, it's a front squat issue. And the answer is kettlebell front squats. I like these questions. That's pretty obvious. The next thing I'd like you to try is, so maybe you could do the 12s, the 24s, and maybe even double 32s out there, but do 8s with the 8 front squats with the 12, walk away the double 32s, and have like the 24s or 16s on the other side. So you're walking with the 32s, you put them down, and you're front squatting with 12s and 16s. And the idea is we're going to roast that farmer walk, and we're going to practice that front squat, okay? So this will take 6 kettlebells, or whatever you got. So double 12s front squat for 8. Pick up the 32s, take them to the 16s, 8 front squats, 32s back, and see if you can make that. And then after that, you should have a real clear feeling of where the real issues are. When I talk about anaconda strength, very often, it's also very localized. Like a lot of people can stand, one of my favorite things to do this at certs all the time, and is put someone in the push-up position plank, heels together, knees together, and then just get on the side of them and try to push them over or pick up an arm. And it's interesting because some people take a stretchy band, stick it to a wall somehow, and just do the vertical press, the vertical plank with the stretchy band going to the side, kind of a isometric Palloff press, if you will. Just hold that. Some people can hold that for an hour, but when we drop the band down from the ceiling and hold here, they lose all their strength. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do as we go through this, Niall, is I want you to kind of figure out where, if we can even dial in exactly where the weak spot is. I wouldn't be surprised, once again, if it's the cobra muscles. The rhomboids, the lower parts of the trap, that inner part of the lat. It's the muscles that do this for you. You lock those in. I have an article online called Wake Up Your Rhomboids. It's an issue I've been dealing with as a coach 15, 20 years at least, where more and more my athletes are coming to me more and more rounded. Now, I know some people disagree with Yonda or me on this point, but when you see it happen over and over, you'd have to be an idiot to continue to ignore it. And I think that rounded shoulders, especially here in the United States with our throwing games, really leads to shoulder issues. So it's going to be weird to say this for some of you, but I think we can do a lot of good for our shoulder issues by getting ourselves in better posture, which is why the suitcase carry is such an important lift for people who have to throw things fast, like pitchers in baseball or javelin throwers. Well, thank you. Good question. I hope it helped. Try those experiments. I think they're a good idea. Got a question here from Justin. Justin says this: you have stated that you wished you'd have taken more time off from training when competing at a high level. Yeah. I always thought I could just keep, while you were taking your 6 weeks off, I would get ahead of you. And the truth was I didn't. If and when should someone training 3x52, so 3 times a week, 52 times a year, for general physical preparedness, take time off? And then he gives us context, but the answer is real simple for me. For context, he's 51, 6 foot, 185 pounds. Well, that's good shape. ER nurse, and have 2 middle school age kids. I've been there. I generally feel beat up and tired, but train consistently. Good for you. I recently switched from 5x52, 5 workouts a week, 52 weeks a year, to 3x52, and I've noticed no positive or negative difference. Now, for me, if I lift weights 3 days a week, that's my house. That's where I get my best work done. I train 5 to 7 times a week, but I do a bunch of other things too: original strength, rucking, walking. Some of the stuff I do as a coach is a lot more physical than you'd imagine. I typically train with kettlebell workouts such as the humane burpee. I have well-stocked home gym, including barbells. Sleep averages 7 hours, but I strive for more. But 7's really good. But, like I keep telling people, 9's better. My diet is reasonable, but I could always use more veggies. To change things up, I just started your hypertrophy and mobility program. That's a good program. I also have to deal with my fasting blood glucose and A1C creeping up. Just adding your plan of fast, black coffee, train, then walk, helped me drop 10 pounds and improve my lab numbers. Yeah, that's Justin. That actually, of all the things you said here, man, that's the most important. Here in the States, I just recommended Lyle McDonald's new book. It's on Amazon, available on Amazon. It's about, he uses GLP-1 or something like that. Ozempic, okay. And it makes me happy to see that you can do it with fasting, black coffee, train, and walk to lose 10 pounds. That's very good, especially having middle school kids and being an ER nurse. Okay, so let's get back to the question. When should you take time off if you're just a guy, a hardworking guy like Justin who goes in the gym 3 days a week? I think there's natural breaks in the year. For one thing, and now if you read online, there's 2 ways to look at vacations. One is that you should still train on vacations. Others is you should not. To me, vacation's a great time to stop lifting weights. Now, when I drove to Vermont last year, I brought my Olympic barbell bumper plates, and I Olympic lifted on the side of the road in Canada, Iowa, Nebraska, of course, North Carolina, Vermont. Because I was getting ready for Olympic lifting meet, and I didn't want to lose that time because I was gone for 6 weeks. For some of us, a vacation is the only time you actually ever get to vacate, and I think there's value. For many of us, for many of the gentlemen listening who have boys, a vacation might be the only time in the year that you don't talk to your son and just don't give him orders. Do your homework, pick up your room, that kind of thing. There's also some natural other breaks. I have, because of Thanksgiving here in the States, I was talking with Lyle. I just recommended his book. I always joke that the United States now has an eating holiday from Halloween to Super Bowl Sunday, and then people are amazed that they have a hard time losing body fat. Well, yeah, you can't go October, November, December, January, and now February on high carb, lots of sugar, crap meals, and then expect to magically whisk it away with a set of swings. It would take 2 sets of swings. So naturally, I would say vacation. That's what I want you to do. If there is a week in the year, like for you, December, Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, Thanksgiving, or some natural time of year. As a teacher, it was always easy because, we had finals, and I used to back off train on finals. Later, I started training during finals because I found that working out during finals actually lowered my stress levels. But I would first look at the natural one. So what I always recommend is go to one of those office stores and get yourself that big year at a glance calendar. They're usually the smallest would be about this big. And I always recommend using 3 color pens. I would go through it, X out with red, the days of the year where you can't work out. Now, I don't know what they are for you. Naturally, for me, it would be like Christmas Day. It's funny, I hope no one I love hears this, but I will put yellow marks, which are caution days, on their birthdays. I'm still going to train on my daughter's birthdays, and that's just the way it is. But you take red marks. If you're an accountant, here in the United States, I would say, the last couple of weeks of March, the first couple of weeks of April, those are probably just going to be X'd out days. You're going to be working. As an ER nurse, I guarantee the months of the year where things are worse. Maybe you can X out a few of those days. I've heard, for example, that there's certain holidays that are very busy. Obviously, any of the holidays that involve driving or any of the holidays that involve families getting together seem to end up with a lot of ER visits. Then you take a yellow pen and you go through and okay, I just got to keep an eye on this. And then you go green is when you really push it. Green is with those natural times of year where you're going to get those 3 workouts in a week and you're take care of business without any obvious apparent distractions. That's what I did when I was really busy. I don't do it as much now. When I take my natural breaks now, I used to train when I would do workshops. Now I don't anymore because I feel like that's a natural break. I do have to adjust my fasting with workshops on the weekend. I have to adjust my workouts with my fasting before I go away on a weekend. But it's not bad. And, if I do something like what I've been doing lately is the day before I fly, I fast all day. I have a really hard workout 2 nights before I leave, and then I fast the whole day before I leave. And then I let the airlines feed me for a day. So that's how I would do it. If none of that helped, maybe certainly deload at least once a month, like every 4th week. Just ease back on load and reps. That's a real simple way to give you almost all the benefits of taking pure time off. Or if that doesn't work out for you, every 3rd month, take a week off naturally. What you're going to find is life, for most of us, when we have middle school children, life has a way of, giving you some rest periods. Okay. Hey, great question, and thank you. All right. Well, here we go. Here's our last question. This one's from Mike. I love the new book, and I'm about halfway through the single kettlebell armor building complex version. I'm in my late 50s, male, trying to maintain muscle mass and avoid looking like a pear. I love that line. An issue I often have after completing a program is deciding how to maintain the goals I've made. So far, the single kettlebell armor building formula is really helping my shoulders, lats, biceps, and I want to maintain as much of the overhead press gains I've made when I finish week 8. Should I use an easy strength approach, another great book, as I focus on some other areas over the next few months? Man, I got to tell you, thanks, Mike. Tim Anderson, we always joke about easy strength and original strength, and Tim's got that great voice. They're like peas and carrots, and he does his Forrest Gump. Easy strength and ABF are like peas and carrots too. Actually, another version I'd like you even to think about, because you want to keep your gains, is maybe 2 months of easy strength for fat loss. if you're a kettlebell guy, you could do double the whole family of presses as your easy strength option. You could do goblet squats or double kettlebell front squats. You could do Turkish get-ups. You can do any member of the family. But you're looking for about a 15 to 20 minute workout with kettlebells. And by the way, if you're using kettlebells, you have a lot more leverage in terms of reps, sets, and load. Because you don't have a lot of variation in load, you have more variations in reps and sets. And do whatever you feel like, and then after each one of those workouts, you just go for a half-hour walk. And like our last, like Justin just said on the same podcast here, if you fast, drink coffee, do your easy strength for fat loss workout, finish it with the walk, good things happen inside your body. And so for me, I think that's a good idea. I mean, do you need to do easy strength for fat loss for, 2 months? I mean, I'd love to see you try it. And at the end of those 2 months, I really think, Mike, you'd have some real insights about what works for you, the exercises you like or dislike. I think you really want to stick with I'd like to see you stick with the press focus on the easy strength stuff. Honestly, I've never thought of this, but kettlebell cleans on easy strength, I think would really be a good idea for a lot of people. It just seems to fit for me. I haven't done it, but it's just like one of those things that's so logical, but not too many people have tried it. The press, the Turkish get-up, this clean idea, some kind of ab exercise, some swings, go for a walk, give yourself some time, ease up on that squat stuff, and then when you come back to that the armor building formula, and you start attacking those legs again, your eyes will be opened. But I love the idea. That's something I would recommend. Mike, I want you to try it. I want you to try, or whatever you try. Let me know how it goes, because I'm very interested in how, I know how the double armor building formula works with easy strength for fat loss. Very good. But I honestly don't know how the single side would work. I haven't done it, and frankly, I haven't had a ton of people talk about it with me, so I just don't know. But I'd love to find out more. Wow, that was relatively easy week this week. Listen, reminder, if you have questions, you'll send them to podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. I love answering your questions. This was another good week of questions. I really appreciate you gentle listeners for all you do and all you give. It was nice this last week to see that my videos have been viewed 10 million times. I always figure it's 10 of you watching it, 1 million each. I love doing this, and I'm here for you. And as always, until next week, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.